In topic 4, it talks about how organisms interact. And we talk about not just how they interact with each other, but also with their environment. So let's define a couple words here. In every ecosystem, there's two kinds of things in the ecosystem. There are biotic things or biotic factors and abiotic factors. Now, bio basically means living, and when you put the word a in front of something, it usually means not. So biotic are the living things, and abiotic are the non-living things. So all the plants, animals, scavengers, bacteria, fungus, they're all biotic. They're all living things. They're composed of cells. They have DNA. All those things that make something living makes them biotic factors of an ecosystem. Abiotic factors are the non-living things, but they're still important for the ecosystem. Animals still can rely on abiotic factors. The sun is a huge abiotic factor. It supplies all the energy to the earth. Water, another abiotic factor. Air, those are three things that nothing on earth can live without, but they're non-living. Other abiotic factors could just be the layout of the land. If you're an elk or a deer, you need particular types of ecosystems to live in. If you're a burrowing animal, you need the right type of soil or ground to dig in. Some animals need caves to live in. Those are all non-living factors or abiotic factors that organisms need to survive. A niche, it's all of the interactions a particular organism has with its ecosystem. In one word, you can sum up the word niche as your role as an organism in the environment. It includes what you eat, where you live or how it lives, and it includes all that the animal does. Everything your organism does is in your niche. You, as a student or as a teenager, your role or your niche in your life can actually have, you can have lots of different roles. You could be, so this is you could be, and you are, a student. You could have a brother or sister or many. You could be a sibling. You have a job, so whatever your job may be, it's part of your role. You could be a hunter, you could be a gatherer, you could be a farmer. That would be part of your role in the ecosystem. You could play on a sports team, and you could be a team member, you could be a captain, whatever. Those are all parts of your role in your life, and every animal has a niche. There are some common niches that we talk about, and all animals will fit into at least one of these categories. Sometimes you can fit into one or more. There are producers. Producers are the ones that take energy from the sun. They capture that energy from the sun and they use photosynthesis to make food. So these are all the green things, all the plants, algae that create food for all the other animals. And they're a really broad category of organisms. The other really broad category is consumers. Every organism is either a producer or a consumer, and consumers rely on other organisms. Some consumers eat producers. And there's three kinds of consumers mainly. Herbivores eat plants. Carnivores are another one, and they eat other consumers. And we have omnivores. And omnivores eat producers or consumers. So herbivores Examples would be deer, mice, rabbits, hares, things that eat plants. Carnivores eat other consumers, so cougars, badgers, eagles, snakes, hawks, they're all carnivores. And omnivores, those are animals that eat producers or consumers. Bears are a good example of omnivores. They love to eat berries, but they'll also eat other consumers as well. Now, within the carnivore relationship, there are two other relationships in there that we could call niches. The animal that does the killing is the predator, and the animal that gets killed and eaten is the prey. So predator and prey are also niches that you can apply to different organisms. Now, what about the animals that eat dead material? There are two kinds of niches that organisms can fit into if they eat dead things. There are scavengers, and they simply feed off dead things, but they're opportunistic. They take the opportunity when they find something dead to have a meal out of it. They find a dead animal, they eat, and then they leave. Decomposers, on the other hand, actually live on, or they grow on dead things, and they absorb the nutrients from the dead organism, and that's how they grow. So these are things like bacteria and fungus, mushrooms, things that grow on dead things are called decomposers. And scavengers and decomposers are very important because they help the whole cycle. They help return all that living matter and nutrients back to the soil. Okay, so if we take one particular ecosystem, and I'm going to focus on a few different living and non-living things in the ecosystem here. We start with the abiotic factor, the sun. We've got grasses. This is a prairie grasslands that we're talking about. We have a mouse. We have a snake in the ecosystem. And we also have a bird, the hawk, in this ecosystem as well. And this is really about following the energy through the ecosystem. The energy starts in the sun. The sun produces and gives all the energy to the earth. Grasses use photosynthesis to take that energy in, make food. The mouse eats the grass. The snake eats the mouse. The hawk eats the snake, and we have energy flowing all the way through this food chain. A food chain is just a single pathway that energy can flow through. If we start adding more interactions here into this ecosystem, if we say, oh, well, the hawk doesn't just eat snakes, it can eat the mouse as well, then it's no longer a food chain. We've now made a food web because there's more than one possible pathway now. It becomes a web. Bunny rabbits could also eat the grass, and hawks can also eat the rabbits. So this adds to the food chain. You can think of more and more interactions. Food webs get really complicated. So food chains and food webs show the pathway that energy flows through the ecosystem from one organism to another. But one thing that food chains aren't good at showing is the number of organisms at each level of that food chain. It's not just one blade of grass feeds one mouse, that feeds one snake, and that feeds one hawk. One hawk could never survive off that single blade of grass to begin with. So to really show what's happening, scientists use a pyramid of numbers to show how many organisms there are at each level. Give us a better idea of what's happening with the energy. Because energy is lost at every level of the food chain. So let's take maple leaves. Maple leaves, they're a producer. They're eaten by tent caterpillars. Should we build a tent around him? There's his tent. Just kidding. All right, so tent caterpillars eat maple leaves, and robins eat tent caterpillars. So that's our food chain. Maple leaves at the bottom, tent caterpillars eat maple leaves, and then robins eat tent caterpillars. So we've got producer at the bottom, tent caterpillars eat maple leaves, so they are herbivores, and we have our carnivore. Now, if we start with 30,000 maple leaves, it takes 10,000 tent caterpillars to eat those 30,000 maple leaves. And then those 10,000 caterpillars will feed only 6 robins. Now, the last thing we need to talk about is biomass. Instead of just thinking of numbers of organisms, we can actually measure the mass of all the organisms that live in an area. So biomass is the total mass of all organisms in an ecosystem. So each level of the pyramid would actually have less biomass. So let's just say that each maple leaf weighed a gram. So this would be 30 kilograms of leaves. 10,000 tent caterpillars, that might be about 8 kilograms, and 6 robins, probably close to 3 kilograms. So you see that mass is being lost as you move up the food chain. That's because energy is being lost. Now all the material that's eaten from the level below you actually gets absorbed into your body tissues. A lot of it is given off as wastes and lost back to the environment.